Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Chapters Bhagavad Gita, Chapter 6, Text 24. Nishchayena yoktavyo yogo nirvinna chetasa sankalpa prabhavan kamamsh tyaktva sarvana eshatah mansevendriya gramam viniyamya samantatah.
One should engage oneself in the practice of yoga with determination and faith and not be deviated from the path. One should abandon without exception all material desires born of mental speculation and thus control all the senses to all sides of the mind, on all sides of the mind.
Text 25. शनैर उप्रमेद बुद्धिया धृति ग्रहीतया आत्मसंस्थं मनः कृत्वा न किंचिद अपि चिन्तयेत्.
Gradually, step by step, one should become situated in trance by means of intelligence, sustained by full conviction, and thus the mind should be fixed on the self alone and should think of nothing else.
Text 26. Yato yato nishchalati manas chanchalam asthiram tatastato niyamayi tat atmanya eva vasham nayet.
From wherever the mind wanders due to its flickering and unsteady nature, one must certainly withdraw it and bring it back under the control of the self.
Text 27. Prashantha man samhay anam yoginam sukham uttamam upeti shanta rajasam brahma bhutam akalmasam.
The yogi whose mind is fixed on me verily attains the highest perfection of transcendental happiness. He's beyond the mode of passion. He realizes his qualitative identity with the Supreme, and thus he's freed from all reactions to past deeds.
Text 28. Yanjanan evam sadatmanam yogi vigta kalmashah sukhen brahmana samparsham atyantam sukham ashnute.
Thus the self-controlled yogi, constantly engaged in yoga practice, becomes free from all material contamination and achieves the highest stage of perfect happiness in transcendental loving service to the Lord.
Text 29. Sarvabhutastham atmanam sarvabhutani chatmani ikshate yoga yutatma sarvatra samadarshanaha.
A true yogi observes me in all beings and also sees every being in me. Indeed, the self-realized person sees me, the same Supreme Lord, everywhere.
Text 30. Yo mam pashyati sarvatra sarvam cha mai pashyati tasyaham na parnashyami sa cha me na pranashyati.
For one who sees me everywhere and sees everything in me, I am never lost, nor is he ever lost to me.
Text 31. Sarvabhuta sthitam yo mam bhajtaya ekatvam asthitah sarvatha vartamano api sa yogi mai vartate.
Such a yogi who engages in the worshipful service of the Super Soul, knowing that I and the Super Soul are one, remains always in me in all circumstances.
Text 32. Atmopam yena sarvatra samam pashyati yo arjuna sukham va yadi va dukkham sa yogi paramo matah.
He is a perfect yogi who by the comparison to his own self sees the true equality of all beings in both their happiness and their distress, O Arjuna.
Text 33. Arjunuvacha yo ayam yogasthavya proktah samyena madhusudana etasyaham na pashyami chanchalatvat sthiram.
Arjuna said, O Madhusudana, the system of yoga which you have summarized appears impractical and unendurable to me, for the mind is restless and unsteady.
Text 34. Chanchalam hi manah Krishna pramathi balvadridham tasyaham nigaraham manye vayor ivasu dukshikam karam.
The mind is restless, turbulent, obstinate, and very strong. O Krishna, and to subdue it, I think, is more difficult than controlling the wind.
Text 35. Shri Bhagavan Uvacha Asamsyaham mahabaho mano durnigaraham chalam abhyasena tu kaunteya vairagyena cha grahayate.
Lord Sri Krishna said, O mighty armed son of Kunti, it is undoubtedly very difficult to curb the restless mind, but it is possible by suitable practice and by detachment.
Text 36. Asamyatatmana yogo dushprapa iti me matih vashyatmana tu yatata sakhyo avaptum upayatah.
For one whose mind is unbridled, self-realization is difficult work. But he whose mind is controlled and who strives by appropriate means is assured of success. That is my opinion.
Text 37. Arjun uvacha ayatihi shraddhayo peto yoga chalit manasah aprapya yoga samsiddhim kam gatim Krishna gacchati.
Arjuna said, O Krishna, what is the destination of the unsuccessful transcendentalist who in the beginning takes to the process of self-realization with faith, but who later desists due to worldly mindedness and thus does not attain perfection in mysticism?
Text 38. Kachinno bhaya vibhrastasha chinnabharam iva nashyati apratishto mahabaho vimuddho brahmanah pathi.
O mighty armed Krishna, does not such a man who is bewildered from the path of transcendence fall away from both spiritual and material success and perish like a riven cloud with no position in any sphere?
Text 39. Etan me samshayam Krishna chetum arhasya asheshtah tad anyah samshayasyasya chetana he upapyadate.
This is my doubt, O Krishna, and I ask you to dispel it completely. But for you, no one is to be found who can destroy this doubt.
Text 40. Shri Bhagavan Uvacha Parthaneva mamutra vinashastasya vidyate nahi kalyan krit krivya shasdrugartim tat gacchati.
The Supreme Personality of Godhead said, Son of Pritha, a transcendentalist engaged in auspicious activities does not meet with destruction either in this world or in the spiritual world. One who does good, my friend, is never overcome by evil.
Text 41. Prapya punya kratam lokan ushitva shashvatih samah suchinam shrimatam gehe yoga bhrashto abhijayate.
The unsuccessful yogi, after many, many years of enjoyment on the planets of the pious living entities, is born into a family of righteous people or into a family of rich aristocracy.
Text 42. Athva yoginam eva kule bhavati dhimatamam etadhi durlabhataram loke janma yad idrasham.
Or, if unsuccessful after long practice of yoga, he takes his birth in a family of transcendentalists who are surely great in wisdom. Certainly, such a birth is rare in this world.
Text 43. Tatratam buddhi samyogam labhte parva dehikam yatate cha tato bhuyah samsiddha kuru nandana.
On taking such a birth, he revives the divine consciousness of his previous life and he again tries to make further progress in order to achieve complete success, O son of Kuru.
Text 44. Purvabhyasena teneva hriyate hai avsho api saha jijnasur api yogasya shabda brahmati vartate.
By virtue of the divine consciousness of his previous life, he automatically becomes attracted to the yogic principles even without seeking them. Such an inquisitive transcendentalist stands always above the ritualistic principles of the scriptures.
Text 45. Prayatnad yatmanastu yogi samsuddha kilpishah anek janma samsiddhastato yati param gatim.
And when the yogi engages himself with sincere endeavor in making further progress, being washed of all contaminations, then ultimately achieving perfection after many, many births of practice, he attains the supreme goal.
Text 46. Tapasvibhyo adhiko yogi jnanibhyo api mato adhikah karmibhyas chadhiko yogi tasmad yogi bhavarjuna.
A yogi is greater than the ascetic, greater than the empirist, and greater than the fruitive worker. Therefore, O Arjuna, in all circumstances, be a yogi.
Text 47. Yoginam api sarvesham madgatinantar atmana shraddhavan bhajite yo mam same yuktatamo matah.
And of all the yogis, the one with great faith, who always abides in me, thinks of me within himself, and renders transcendental loving service to me, he is the most intimately united with me in yoga and is the highest of all. That is my opinion. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Shri Mataji. Wonderful recitation. Thank you.
Thank you.
Nice, very nice recitation too. Hare Krishna. Back there. Today we will read 41. So dear devotees who have joined us just now, welcome to today's session. Not sure if you're joining us for the first time, but if you are, a warm welcome to you.
Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna, dear devotees. My humble obeisances to all of you. Just to let you know that today is the Shriya Mataji who recited in Sanskrit. It's her birthday, so let us all wish her.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Happy birthday, Shriya Mataji, again.
Thank you, everyone. Thank you, Mataji.
Hare
for
Krishna.
Hare
Krishna.
Krishna. Happy
Hare
birthday.
Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Happy birthday.
Nice observe your birthday in association of devotees. This is the best way to observe. So we shall now read text number 41. Before we do that, let's recite the Mangala Charanam prayers. You can join me in your recitation. Be unmuted mics. Om Jnana Timirandasya Gyananjana Shalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Jena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Sri Chaitanya Manobhistam Stapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamayam Dadati Swapadantikam Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Yatha Padakamalam Shri Gurun Vaishnavamscha Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Sahagana Raghunatham Vitam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadutan Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Pradan Sahagana Lalita Shri Vishakam Vitamscha He Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dinabandhu Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namastute Tapta Kanchana Gourange Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vrishabhanu Sutidevi Pranamami Hari Priye Vanchakalpa Turubhyascha Kripa Sindhubhyevacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha. Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadara Shri Vashadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda. Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. Namo Vishnupadaya Krishna Prashtaya Bhutale Srimate Bhaktivedanta Swaminiti Namine Namaste Saraswati Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschachadishatarine. Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. So dear devotees, I didn't get time to prepare any slides or anything today, so please bear with me. So text number 41. Prapya punya kritam lokan usitva shashvati samaha suchinam shrinmatam gehe yoga brashto vijayate. Word for word synonyms. Prapya, after achieving punya kritam, of those who performed pious activities. Lokan, planets. Ushitva, after dwelling. Shashvati, many. Samaha, years. Suchinam, of the pious. Shrimatam, of the prosperous. Gehe, in the house. Yoga Brashta, one who has fallen from the path of self-realization. Abhijayate, takes his birth. Translation by Srila Prabhupada. The unsuccessful yogi, after many, many years of enjoyment on the planets of the pious living entities, is born into a family of righteous people or into a family of rich aristocracy. By Srila Prabhupada. The unsuccessful yogis are divided into two classes. One is fallen after very little progress, and one is fallen after long practice of yoga. The yogi who falls after a short period of practice goes to the higher planets, where pious living entities are allowed to enter. After prolonged life there, one is sent back to this planet to take birth in a family of a righteous Brahmin Vaishnav or aristocratic merchants. The real purpose of yoga practice is to achieve the highest perfection of Krishna consciousness, as explained in the last verse of this chapter. But those who do not persevere to such an extent and who fail because of material allurements, are allowed by the grace of the Lord to make full utilization of their material propensities. And after that, they are given opportunities to live prosperous lives in righteous or aristocratic families. Those who are born in such families may take advantage of the facilities and try to elevate themselves to full Krishna consciousness. The unsuccessful yogi, after many, many years of enjoyment on the planets of the pious living entities, is born into a family of righteous people or into a family of rich aristocracy. So this verse, is spoken, what happened there? In response to Arjuna's question. And that question was posed in text number 37 and 38. Arjuna told Krishna that he asked Krishna, "Oh Krishna, what is the destination of the unsuccessful transcendentalists, who in the beginning takes to the process of self-realization with faith, but who later desists to worldly mindedness and thus does not attain perfection in mysticism? Almighty armed Krishna, does not such a man who is bewildered from the path of transcendence fall away from both spiritual and material success and perish like a riven cloud with no position in any sphere?" So these are very relevant questions that Arjuna is asking on our behalf. I remember in my very early days in Krishna consciousness, I didn't know what. I went to the ashram and I lived with the devotees, and I just knew that this is my path. I have to follow. I was about 19 then. But I was bewildered. I was thinking to myself, I still have material desires and aspirations. If I give everything up and just take only part of transcendence, what would happen if I'm not successful? If I fall back into material consciousness, then I lose out in both ways. So this is a common question that sometimes inhibits people to taking wholeheartedly to Krishna consciousness. They feel that they'll lose out on both sides. Neither materially they would have achieved, and neither spiritually we would have achieved. So the Lord is very kindly alleviating all such misconceptions and doubts. And the general theme of all of these verses that the Lord responds to Arjuna is, there is no loss. There is no loss. Once one reporter asked Srila Prabhupada a question. He says, "Swamiji, you all are giving up everything for Krishna. You're living a renounced life. What if in the end you find out that there was no Krishna at all?" And Prabhupada chose a very interesting way to respond. He said, "What would be the loss? We are eating nice food. We sing and dance most of the time. We read nice books. We keep very good company in the association of devotees. It's a good life. Even if there was no Krishna in the end, it's a good life. So there is no loss. Obviously, Prabhupada had firm conviction there is Krishna, but he answered in such a beautiful way that this process of Krishna consciousness is, there is no loss. In the Bhagavatam, in the 11th canto, there's this beautiful verse that's spoken. He says, the speaker, and I can't remember who's the speaker, and I need to just look it up. He says that this path of Krishna consciousness is all auspicious. It's like a person running blindfolded in an unlimited expanse of soft sand. We all know if someone blindfolds us on the road and say, run as fast as you can, absolute fastest. It'll be a very frightening situation because the probability of us falling and hurting ourselves is quite high because we're blindfolded and the ground is hard. In this verse, the Bhagavatam, the speaker says the path of bhakti is so auspicious. It's like someone running blindfolded, but running blindfolded on an expanse of soft sand. If one falls, there'll be no injury. Because the sand is soft, we will be protected. So in the same way, anyone who takes to the path of Krishna consciousness, there will never be any loss. And we should always have that confidence. Never doubt that, sometimes people may probe us. People may try to cast doubt in us about the path we have chosen. But we should know absolutely, with 100% certainty, relying on these words of Lord Krishna, that there will be no inauspiciousness. And in this particular verse, the Lord is saying that an unsuccessful yogi, what happens to such an unsuccessful yogi? First, they go to the heavenly planets, and they will enjoy for many, many years. And after that enjoyment, then they will be born in a family of righteous people or into a family of rich aristocracy. Now, in terms of righteous people, Srila Prabhupada says, we will be born in a family of Vaishnavas or Brahmanas, meaning one gets an opportunity to take off in one's spiritual life from where one left. The word is here, or one is born in a family of rich aristocracy. Now, generally, in Vedic times, the rich aristocratic people were also very, very cultured person. And Prabhupada writes in the purport, why in a family of rich aristocracy? Because having taken birth in such a family, Prabhupada writes at the last line, they may take advantage of the facilities and try to elevate themselves to full Krishna consciousness, meaning they don't have to worry about their maintenance. Generally, those who are not well off have to always worry about their maintenance. Where will they get money? Where will they get food? Where will they get dwelling? And so on. So much of their mental energy becomes preoccupied with the basic necessities of life. But when one is born in a family of rich aristocracy, then one doesn't have to worry about such needs. They're all taken care of. In one sense, one will have more time and more opportunity to delve into spiritual life. And previously in Vedic times, the rich aristocracies, they used to be very cultured, very spiritual. they used to have Brahmins that would simply read during different times of the day for them from Mahabharat, Ramayana, Srimad Bhagavatam, and so on. And we see this playing out in many great devotees' life. Raghunath Das Goswami, his father was extremely wealthy, and Raghunath Das, he was the only son. But he had no worries financially. He immediately ran off to Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. The same Das Thakur, Narottam Das Thakur, he was born in a very rich family, royal family. Lord Buddha, he took birth in a rich family. So we see these opportunities are there for one who has made some advancement in his spiritual life. And Prabhupada says unsuccessful yogis are broken up into two classes. One who practices for a short time and one who practices for a long time. The subsequent verses will focus more on those who have practiced for a long time. This verse gives more focus for someone who's practiced for a not so long time. Now one may ask, long and short is a relative term. What does that mean? How will I know? I only took to Krishna consciousness in this life. I'm only going for a few years. Will I fall into this category? Well, it depends. None of us know when we will die. We can die tomorrow, and many of us will find ourselves in a situation that, our Krishna consciousness is still in its infant stages. We haven't made much practice. But someone may think, this says here, after many, many years of enjoyment on the material planets, I will be sent to the heavenly planets, which is still part of the material world. But won't I get caught up in enjoyment? This material life is so precarious. Even a little sense gratification can throw us completely off course. So one may ask the question, why is Krishna advocating? Why is Krishna saying, go to the heavenly planets? Isn't Krishna putting me in a very risky position? And the answer is no. And I'll read from some verses from Srimad Bhagavatam to evidence where Prabhupada gives a beautiful purport on that. The important point is that even after enjoying, the purpose of that enjoyment is we may still have some tendency to enjoy. And that's what holds us back in our spiritual life. So go and indulge and enjoy, and you will see there is no such thing as real enjoyment in the material world. Everything in material world is like has some sand in the sweet rice. Sometimes we may want to eat a very lovely, delicious kheer, but when we put our spoon in, there's some sand in it, and then we don't want to eat. Or the English saying is a fly in the soup. Maybe beautiful, lovely, delicious soup. Well, one wants to eat it, and then you see there's a fly there, and then you think, oh, forget it. So material life is like that. There's no such thing, even in the heavenly planets, as unrestricted enjoyment. So we have the opportunity to so-called enjoy, but at the same time, purify ourselves of the tendency to enjoy. And Prabhupada refers to that in the purport. And having gone through that whole endeavor and process, then Krishna, being very kind upon us, will give us another opportunity to take off in our spiritual lives from where we left off. I wanted to read one letter that Srila Prabhupada wrote to one of his disciples. Now, we know, dear devotees, during Ratha Yatra, we always have a picture of one very special devotee at the front of our Ratha Yatra carts. And that devotee is Jayananda Prabhu. Jayananda Prabhu was a very, very dedicated, sincere disciple. And he did immense service for Srila Prabhupada, immense service. He started the first Ratha Yatra in San Francisco. And he used to build carts without sleeping for days. He would plan the Ratha Yatra. And he was an amazing saintly person, very advanced, very dear to Srila Prabhupada. But he contracted leukemia. And at a relatively young age, he passed away. And when he passed away, Srila Prabhupada was in Bombay, and that was in May 1977. And Prabhupada wrote a letter. He addressed it to Jayananda. The contents of this letter is very interesting and instructive, and I'll read it to you. Prabhupada writes, "My dear Jayananda, please accept my blessings. I am feeling very intensely your separation. In 1967, you joined me in San Francisco. You were driving my car and chanting Hare Krishna. You were the first man to give me some contribution, $5,000 for printing my Bhagavad Gita. After that, you have rendered very favorable service to Krishna in different ways. I so hope at the time of your death, you were remembering Krishna, and as such, you have been promoted to the eternal association of Krishna. If not, if you had any tinge of material desire, you have gone to the celestial kingdom to live with the demigods for many thousands of years and enjoy the most opulent life of material existence. From there, you can promote yourself to the spiritual world. But even if one fails to promote himself to the spiritual world, at that time, he comes down again on the surface globe and takes birth in a big family like a yogis or a brahmanas or an aristocratic family, where there is again chance of reviving Krishna consciousness. But as you were hearing Krishna Kirtan, I am sure that you were directly promoted to Krishna Loka. Janma karma cha madivyam evam yoveti tatvataha tvaktva deham punar janma naiti mam eti so Arjuna. Krishna has done a great favor to you, not to continue your diseased body, and has given you a suitable place for your service. Thank you very much, your ever well-wisher, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami." So this is a very instructive letter. When I read this letter, I read it as Srila Prabhupada making some statements here to warn other devotees, his disciples. Jayananda, Prabhupada knows, is pure. He's pure. All of his activities were pure. He will be promoted to Krishna Loka. Prabhupada is writing here as a reminder to those who maybe are not taking their Krishna consciousness so seriously, who may be prone to fall down from the path. Prabhupada is saying, yes, you will be promoted to the heavenly planets and you'll enjoy there for a very, very long time. And the way Srila Prabhupada writes here, that even from the heavenly planets, one can be promoted to the spiritual world. And if one maybe gets entangled in heavenly pleasures, then when one's punya is exhausted, one will take birth again in the earthly planets, and there one will get an opportunity to advance in one's spiritual life. I want to just now read one more extract, which is relevant to this verse, from the Srimad Bhagavatam. And that is canto number 4, chapter number 30, Prachetas, the activities of the Prachetas, and text number 17 and 18. So just a brief background. The Prachetas, they were great devotees, sons of Prachina Barisat, and they were instructed by Narad Muni, and they performed a nice service, nice austerities, and then the Lord came to see them. And the Lord spoke to them and addressed them, very nice words. You can read this chapter number 30. And then eventually the Lord, after speaking to them, he blessed them that, they will get married to a nice girl, and they will be engaged in household life, and then later they will take fully to Krishna consciousness again. So in text number 17, the Lord says, he blesses the Prachetas, saying, "My dear princess, by my mercy, you can enjoy all the facilities of this world as well as the heavenly world. Indeed, you can enjoy all of them without hindrance and with full strength for 1 million celestial years." So what we see here is that when Krishna blesses someone to go to the heavenly planets, that is not bad. We will see many instances in the Bhagavatam where Krishna benedicts. He did it with Prahlad Maharaj, he even did that with Dhruva Maharaj. Benedicts them, say, now you enjoy the kingdom, you enjoy the pole star. And Krishna assures them that they will not fall down. Krishna sometimes wants to give blessings to his devotees. And if that particular blessing doesn't allow them to fall down, then it's a real blessing. So the Lord says, indeed, you can enjoy all of them without hindrance with full strength for 1 million celestial years. 1 million celestial years. And then what does the Lord say after that? He says, after you will develop unadulterated devotional service unto me and be freed from all material contamination. At that time, being completely unattached to material enjoyment in the so-called heavenly planets, as well as in the hellish planets, you will return home back to Godhead. Now, I wanted to read the purport. Let me read it, and then, because it's very instructive. So the purport to this verse where the Lord blesses them to enjoy in this world and the heavenly world, what says, the duration of life prescribed for the Prachetas by the Supreme Personality of Godhead is calculated by the time measurements of higher planetary systems. 1/6 Earth months are said to be equal to 12 hours in the higher planetary systems. 30 days equals 1 month, and 12 months equal 1 year. In this way, for 1 million years, according to the calculations of the higher planetary systems, the Prachetas were allowed to enjoy all kinds of material facilities. Although this lifespan was so long, the Prachetas were given full bodily strength by the grace of the Lord. In the material world, if one wants to live for many years, he must enjoy the difficulties of old age, invalidity, and many other miserable conditions. The Prachetas, however, were given full bodily strength to enjoy material facilities. This special facilities was given to the Prachetas so that they could continue rendering full devotional service. This will be explained in the next verse. And the next verse in purport, thereafter you will develop unadulterated devotional service unto me and be freed from all material contamination. At that time, being completely unattached to material enjoyment in the so-called heavenly planets, as well as in hellish planets, you will return home back to Godhead. So-called enjoyment. Purport by Prabhupada. By the grace of the Lord, the Prachetas were given special facilities. Although they could live millions of years to enjoy material facilities, they still would not be deviated from the transcendental loving service of the Lord. Being thus fully engaged, the Prachetas would be completely free from all material attachment. Material attachment is very strong. During one's lifetime, a materialist engages in acquiring land, money, friends, society, friendship, love, and so on. He also wants to enjoy the heavenly planets after the annihilation of the body. If one is engaged in devotional service, however, he becomes unattached to all kinds of material enjoyment and suffering. In the material world, those who are elevated to the higher planetary systems are supposed to enjoy all material facilities, whereas those degraded to lower planetary systems are supposed to live in a hellish condition. A devotee, however, is transcendental to both heavenly and hellish conditions. According to the Bhagavad Gita 4:26, a devotee's position is described in this way: Mam chayo vyabhicharena bhakti yogena sevate sa gunan samatit yaitan brahma bhuyaya kalpate. One who engages in devotional service, who does not fall down in any circumstance, at once transcends the modes of material nature and thus comes to the level of Brahman. A devotee is always situated on the Brahman platform. He has nothing to do with material happiness or distress. So by the grace of the Lord, even though one is or may be promoted to the heavenly planets, one will not forget Krishna. Because even in the heavenly planets, they are demigods and they are devotees of the Lord. Some of them may have material desires, but essentially they are devotees of the Lord. So even if one goes to the material planets, that is meant for our purification. And ultimately, we can take to devotional service with more conviction and determination and complete the process. This is, the gist of this verse and the verses that I've just read now. I'm sorry, were you all seeing my screen? I don't know. I forgot to show you the screen maybe. All right, devotees, I'll stop there. It's now 25 to. We'll take any questions or comments anyone may have.
Hare Krishna, Prabhu.
Hare Krishna, Chandra, Chaitanya, Prabhu.
And I would pronounce, thank you for a wonderful session. In the translation, Prabhupada writes, the Lord says, family of rich aristocracy. I think, if I'm correct, there is a very good example that we have of your Guru Maharaj, Giriraj Swami Maharaj.
Yes.
When his parents heard that your Guru Maharaj joined Prabhupada, I think his father came to Mumbai to see Prabhupada and offered $1 million. At that time, $1 million must be at today's rate, maybe $20 million. And, your Guru Maharaj said, no, I'm not interested. I want to be with Prabhupada. So we have a very good example of in ISKCON, which Prabhupada has established for the benefit of all humanity, that we have such saintly persons giving us the association and showing us the way forward. Your Guru Maharaj is an example of the determination that, I want to take this forward. And, if you read so many of his quotes, your Guru Maharaj always emphasizes that. And I think he has also blessed you immensely that you are carrying on the work of your Guru Maharaj right here in the UK. And we are also very fortunate to have this association. So ISKCON is the answer for all the problems in the world. So we should never deviate or go away from ISKCON. Thank you so much, Prabhu.
Thank you, Chandra Chaitanya. Prabhu, yes. My Guru Maharaj tells the story of how he was born in a wealthy Jewish family. And his father was a high court judge. And he was in university, Brandeis University, and he left. He was searching for a guru and he found Srila Prabhupada. And Prabhupada took him to India. And in Mumbai, they were living in very difficult conditions. They rat-infested tents they were living in, mosquitoes, poisonous snakes. They were suffering from diarrhea. They had to walk some distance to the toilet. And his wealthy parents came to Mumbai and met with Srila Prabhupada. And his father offered him $1 million. And his father spoke to Prabhupada and said, Prabhupada, is it not possible for one to practice Krishna consciousness at home? Prabhupada said, yes. And then why can't I take him home? Prabhupada says, I have no objection. I have no objection. If he wants to go home with you, he can go. I won't stop. And then they asked, at the time he was Giri Raj Das, would you like to go back with your parents? And he said, no, nothing, no amount of austerities can take me away from the lotus feet of Srila Prabhupada. And there were many Prabhupada's disciples, even His Holiness Radhanath Swami Maharaj. He came from a very distinguished Jewish family, very loving parents, and no shortage of anything, but still they gave. And many of them, a lot of the Prabhupada's disciples actually came from quite distinguished Jewish families. And Jayadvaita Swami, Dhanodar Swami, Brahmananda Swami, Garga Muni Swami, so much of them came from, aristocratic, rich Jewish families. And they came, they just took wholeheartedly to Krishna consciousness. And those were good examples. So thank you for sharing that. Let's see this. I saw some questions came back. Chandrika Mataji, I think you had asked a question. I thought from heavenly planets, we cannot go to spiritual planets. I thought we need to come down to earth, is it? And then go with promotion. Please clarify, Prabhu. Actually, from any of the planets, it is said from Brahma Loka, that is the planet from which most of the souls first go, like the yogis. And then from Satyaloka, they go back to the spiritual world. So without doubt, it is possible to go to the spiritual world from higher planetary systems, higher planets. And from what Prabhupada has written to Jayananda, in that letter, it's even possible from the heavenly planets. Not very common, because the deviation can be there in the heavenly planets, but it's possible, and there's sufficient evidence in the Vedas that that's possible, Chandrika Mataji. It's not necessary that one has to come. One falls to earth when one has expired all one's punya on the heavenly planets. But one can have punya and even use the heavenly planets to advance further. Most people go to heavenly planets and they extinguish all their punya, then they fall to the earth planets. But some people, without extinguishing their punya, they use it for spiritual life. So that's possible. That's possible. Does that answer your question, Chandrika Mataji?
Yes, yes. It's just I've heard in many classes, but maybe they didn't elaborate so much as you just have. So I thought that from the heavenly planets, you have to come to earth, then, rectify whatever you've done. Then you have to go back up again, direct to spiritual, but you don't take the steps to heavenly, then spiritual. That's how I understood it all this time, till today. So worth tuning in.
Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna. Any questions or reflections, comments from the devotees?
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji.
Hare Krishna.
Dandavat pranams. Thank you. Thank you for class. So regarding this unsuccessful yogi, so I understood someone was practicing, but they left the body. So for them, this applicable. So maybe some situation for unsuccessful yogi, they have not left the body, but they practice, let's say, for a few years, and they went back to the material enjoyment. What happens to them?
So I'm not sure I understand your question. You're saying if someone is practicing, but they don't finish it and they leave their body.
No, so I understand this is the verse is talking about the practicing, but they left the body. So what I'm saying is, let's say maybe someone came like me, so I practice for 5 years.
Yes.
And then I leave Krishna consciousness and go to the normal material life, and then I leave body. What happens?
Oh, okay. Well, this is what the verse is saying, even those that fall away from Krishna consciousness. whatever Krishna consciousness we do, that always remains to our eternal credits. You know, Prabhupada used to say, if you put 10 pounds deposit in your bank, you know, and under normal circumstances, you make a withdrawal, it'll diminish. But Krishna consciousness is not like that. You know, whatever advancement you make, and you know, Krishna consciousness is so powerful that one can accumulate so many punya, so much of punya. And then you go to the heavenly planets, but you will take off from where you left off. That is the general principle, Venkat Prabhu. If you made 5% advancement, you will get an opportunity to take off from 5% in some future life.
Thank you, Prabhuji. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Any other questions, comments, or reflections, Rupa Mataji?
Hare Krishna Prabhuji, my humble obeisances unto you. Thank you. I was thinking of once, maybe I heard it wrong. When you were reading the purport, I think it was the letter to Jayananda Prabhu,
Yes.
and it was mentioned heavenly planet, you enjoying the heavenly planet or hellish planet. Why was the hellish planet mentioned there? So I was wondering why it was mentioned.
Another purport I read, Prabhupada says about the example of Bali Maharaj. And Prabhupada actually answers that in the purport. So Bali Maharaj, he was a devotee, and he was sent by Lord Vamanadev to the hellish planets. So the point Prabhupada is making, for a devotee, either hellish planets or heavenly planets doesn't matter. He will still remember Krishna. So that's why the hellish planets are mentioned. Because for a devotee, it doesn't matter. Hellish or heavenly planets, they will still be Krishna conscious.
Okay, thank you very much. It means like if we take example of, say, for example, even like all of Srila Prabhupada's early disciples, when Srila Prabhupada sent them to, say, India or somewhere, they were living in very austere conditions. They were not used to. So that is kind of hellish condition, isn't it? So that it didn't matter to them at all how they were living, but they were so Krishna conscious. Maybe that's...
Yes, it didn't matter. If you're Krishna conscious, your environment, your surroundings doesn't matter. You remain aloof from them. In one song, Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur prays, please, my Lord, in my next birth, make me an insect in your devotee's home. Bhaktivinoda Thakur had no concerns about being an insect, but his concern was he must be an insect in a devotee's home, because in that devotee's home, there will be Krishna Kirtan, there will be Krishna Katha, there will be Krishna Prashadam, and he will be safe. He'll remember Krishna, even in an insect. I was reading that before the class. Prabhupada speaks like that in one lecture.
Thank you very much, Prabhuji. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji.
Hare Krishna, Mataji.
Thank you for a wonderful class. Prabhuji, I was just thinking, you were talking about aristocracy and the examples like Raghunath Das Goswami and Giriraj Swami Maharaj. To be able to progress in your spiritual life, you have to then renunciate from this aristocracy kind of facilities that have been given. Could you progress in it if you continued staying in it?
It may be difficult. It may be difficult, but not. When Raghunath Das Goswami first came to Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, he renounced his family. And Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu said, don't practice Markat Vairagya. Markat means monkey. He says, don't practice Markat Vairagya. You go back home, you serve your father, you live like that, you practice Krishna consciousness, and when the time is right, then you can renounce. So we can see from that example, not necessarily so. One can advance, but ultimately, one has to give up all opulences because one can get attached to it. But there are examples of great devotees, even in opulent situations like Maharaj.
Yeah, Pundrik Vidyanidhi. Pundrik he continued being opulent, and within himself, he was still renounced.
Yes.
Yes. So it is possible.
For in the process, for a bhakti yogi, yes. But for the other yogis, Ashtanga yogis and Jnana yogis, yeah, definitely not. You have to renounce.
Yes.
But for a bhakti yogi, doesn't matter. You know that the one sage yogi was asked to give blessings to different types of people. He was asked to give blessings to a butcher, a king, a brahmachari, and a devotee. So for the butcher, he said, I bless you, you don't die, you don't live. Because while living, you are causing pain to the animals. And if you die, you have to go to hell and suffer for the pain. And for the king, he said, don't die. I bless you. Because you're enjoying opulences, don't die. For the brahmachari, he said, you die immediately. Because you're doing so much of tapasya now. Stop the tapasya and enjoy the results of your tapasya. And for the devotee, he says, you live, you die, it doesn't matter. Because wherever you are, living or dead, you are serving the Supreme Personality of Godhead. It's the same thing. So don't live, don't die. So
Yeah.
only for the devotees, it's that.
Yes, yes, Prabhuji. Thank you. So they are given aristocratic situations because they have obviously done a lot of pious activities for this life. So they get that, but then they have to detach from it to go into real realization.
Well, Krishna is saying in this verse, they're born in the how can I can't pronounce it.
Aristocracy.
Yeah, aristocracy. Because Krishna is feeling merciful to them. He doesn't want them to suffer for their livelihood, you know. He'll put them in a family, they just don't worry anything about their livelihood. They can just focus and then at some point in time just dedicate themselves fully.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. Thank you, Prabhuji. Wonderful.
Krishna.
Krishna.
Aristocratic, yeah. Now I can pronounce it. Anyone else got any comments or reflections that they'd like to share before we close today's session?
Prabhu, George Harrison is an example, isn't he? The
Yeah.
Prabhupada told him.
That's a very good example. Yeah. That's also a Prabhupada told him, you know, Krishna has given you this birth and this opulence and this fame. Now you use it in his service. That's a good example, Bhavini Mataji. Hare Krishna. All right.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji.
Hare Krishna, Surya Prabhu.
Dandavat Pranam. Prabhuji, very nice class. Thank you. We talked about rebirth and all. So if we want, we should not, say one of the first lessons in Bhakti Ruksha, the one that we do very first is that we should not ask anything from God. Yes. But at the same time, sometimes we get a desire that, oh, if I'm reborn, I want to just pray to Krishna. I don't want to lose that one. So what should we do to ensure that we are always chanting to Krishna in this life, next life, thereafter, and we don't lose our way?
We just have to be fixed in our resolve. We must be convinced that, you know, there's nothing in this material world. There's just nothing in this material world to be extracted. It's like chewing the chew, as Prahlad Maharaj says. We have to have that conviction through intelligence, through realization, and understand that, you know, devotional service is Jivera Swarapoi Krishnera Nityadas. The only way I can truly be happy is if I'm situated in Krishna's devotional service. Nothing else will ever satisfy me completely. It's only the devotional service. And when we have that conviction, then Krishna will put us, like, you know, we can see so many children are being born in devotees' families. Right from their birth, they are taking to Krishna consciousness. So we should be in that conviction. I'm not sure if I answered your question, Prabhu, but it's about our being fixed very, very firmly in our goal, in our desire.
Thank you, Prabhu. That's very helpful. Thank you. Hare Krishna. Dandavat Pranam.
Neela Mataji has written a message. Shakshi Mataji, you've joined us for the first time. A warm welcome to you. I hope you found this session useful in your spiritual life. And
Yes, thank you, Prabhu. Thank you. Very enlightening one. Thank you.
okay, we hope to see you again and again.
Yes, thank you.
Thank you. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Prabhu. Hare Krishna.
So we'll close today's session. Thank you very much, dear devotees, for your wonderful contribution and your questions. Vanchakalpatarubhyascha,
Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha.
Anantakoti Vaishnava Vrinda
Vrinda ki jai.
Prabhupada ki jai.
Thank you, Prabhuji.
Thank you, Prabhuji. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, everyone.
Hare Krishna.
Thank you, Prabhuji. Hare Krishna.